power and all this other stuff and velocity architecture, right?
Hmm.
Remember all that talk?
I remember that.
All that stuff means diddly poo. Because at the end of the day, it's the games. They're the ones. The games are what going to show people, or what's going to be is the final end product that all consoles are judged on, right? And
Absolutely.
I think unfortunately what happened is some people got caught up in this power narrative of, oh, because we have the most powerful console, we will have the best games, and it doesn't work that way, right?
Hmm.
Tools, developer talent, time, money, resources, all those things factor into quality games, right?
Yeah.
And and people just got caught away with the power narrative, unfortunately. I think that's why it's funny. Like I saw the somebody, I did a Brad Brenner earlier. Somebody asked me about the ray tracing thing on Series X, and maybe at some point that's a topic that won't be discussed anymore. It's some, I heard you say something about tools. Maybe that stuff will be figured out later on down the road because tools will improve, right, over time, right?
Yeah.
At least you would think they would, but I think again part of the problem is that people were writing checks they couldn't cash, and that's why we're having this conversation, because of that unrealistic expectation I think people put on that console, man. And that's why you see, people like you, me, having this conversation. Like, wait a minute, guys, like it's not about power per se. It's about time, development, resources, tools, all those things. And people forgot about that. I think to the extent maybe we're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Maybe we're seeing that maybe one console had the tools, in place, sooner than the
Yeah.
other. And that's not to say I don't think Microsoft won't have that, but I think we're seeing some of that where some of these games aren't maybe necessarily running the way people thought they would run. You see some of these digital Foundry tests. You see
Hmm.
instances the PlayStation 5 is outperforming the Series X, right?
Exactly.
So, but but again, I think that's because people focused on setting maybe unrealistic expectations of what they thought this console was going to be able to do, or maybe do out the gate, without realizing that that's only one piece of the puzzle. So, but man, it is what it is, man. I always say fanboys learn the hard way.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know what it is, man. It's just, again, it's a lot of crow being eaten. It's just, a lot of people are taking, how can I put this? They're taking a bunch of stuff that was put out there before these consoles launched, and it's putting it up on a pedestal in front of a
Yeah,
mirror and saying, hey, look, step by step, this is what you said, and this is where you were wrong. This is why next time you shut the fuck up and let
yeah,
these devs do what they do and let
yes,
these people market this stuff and stop going out
yes.
here selling these wolf tickets that you don't know the developers are going to be able to do.
Exactly, man. I mean, it's not always as simple as people think it is, And a lot of these people aren't developers,
Mhm.
They've never made a game. They don't understand how these things work, and they make assumptions. And unfortunately, unfortunately, there's content creators out there that they kind of push that stuff too. Where they discuss things that maybe they aren't the individuals that should be discussing those things. Because they're not developers per se, or the experts, if you will, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes disinformation, comes out, and that's unfortunate. But again, it's always been about the games. I've said that for years now. It's always been about the games. People forget about power as the generation goes on. Why? They start talking about the games. The games start dropping. Like we talk about PlayStation 5 right now. What do we talk about? Returnal, um, Ratchet and Clank, Deathloop, which I'm
Yeah.
hearing some really good things about. That's coming out soon. Um, you know, Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island just came out. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like people start remembering these things. Like it's not they forget about the power thing. Just it goes away once the games start dropping. That's the focal point. That should always be the focal point.
Hmm.
You know.
No, you're
But
right.
unfortunately, man, that's just not it, man. It's just power. It just was power in the beginning, man. And I still think to an extent it still is. People are still discussing it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna be honest. A lot of the most diehard power podcasts, and YouTubers and influencers or whatever, those guys are silent. Like they don't. They're scared when you bring up power, and I've seen this.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are just really scared, and it's because they are afraid that somebody is going to bring up a lot of things that they've said in the past, or question them, ask them, "Hey,
Yeah.
you remember you said 40 to 50 frames delta? When are we gonna get that? Right? What did you mean by that? And do you still stand by that? Stuff like that." And that's just one example. I think at the end of the day, these consoles are going to do what these consoles are going to do. It's all about the developer. It's all about the developer. It's all about their talent to harness the hardware. Now, if you build hardware that these developers can't wring out the full power, or they can't do what they want to do, then it's going to show in the games. And that's just, it is what it is,
Well, it's like I said, man, it's, power's only one piece of the equation. And I'm not saying, the Xbox Series X is an impressive piece of hardware, because it is. But again, it comes down to those other things, those other intangibles that we talked about, time, resources, money, developer talent, those things. All those things matter. And I would argue they probably matter more than maybe the power itself. I've had people tell me, "Oh, what are you talking about? You can't do that without power," Well, what's the point of power if you don't have the tools and the time and the resources and the talent to utilize that power, right? It means nothing.
That's true.
You just have power. You know what I mean? That's all you have.
But I can say it has been thoroughly entertaining, and it's been extremely funny to see how all this shit unfold. It's man, I'm loving it.
Yeah, Jay, it's funny. Like I had a feeling that this was going to happen because it. Look, man, I used to wave the green flag hard 20 years ago when the original Xbox was the most powerful console, and that was always my talking point. We got the power. We got the internal hard drive. We can rip music into a hard drive. You can't. Ha ha ha. Meanwhile, you know who's getting the better games? PlayStation 2.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, while those feature sets were nice, I could rip my own music on my hard drive. Those are great features. Very forward thinking by Microsoft to do that. At the end of the day, PlayStation 2 had the better games.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
In the grand scheme of things, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I mean, Jay, and I know I'm a little long-winded here. I want to let someone else come in, but at the end of this generation, no one's going to remember that the Xbox Series X had 12 teraflops per se, right?
Yep.
They're going to remember games like Psychonauts 2, which is awesome that it's in the conversation for Game of the Year, right? Let's say Starfield comes out and it's like a fucking banger, and it's in conversation for Game of the Year as well. Like, look, and it's just an amazing game. Those are the things that people are going to remember,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when Sony drops a new IP, those are things that people remember. They're going to remember, whether or not, you could take out how to use a screwdriver and the heat sink with the external SSD, and they're not going to remember that stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to remember the games. That's games are the legacy which platforms are built upon. Always, and it's always been the case. Always been the case.
Well, Brad, that's why there's guys like me to make sure that shit exists, right? To make sure that they never forget the crazy things that they've said and that they've done, right?
Yeah.
I thank you for coming by, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
You too, Jay, man. Yep. See you, man.
Axel, my brother, what's good? Come on in. Let's hear your wisdom this Sunday afternoon. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for giving me the floor here. Jaydub, man, I got some breaking news, man. I just spoke to a Microsoft engineer. For the record, his name is Baron Teberg. I don't know how I got a hold of him on Sunday. I mean, usually these guys are off on Sunday. It's crazy. But so I asked him about this whole ray tracing thing, especially with the most recent game with Little Nightmares 2, how it just seems to be just completely missing. You're not going to believe what he said to me, man. He said, "Who needs ray tracing when you got Game Pass?" I couldn't believe it.
Oh, Lord.
I couldn't believe it. It was, yeah, it was just, it was so sad, man. No, but for real though, I agree with Brap 100%. Right, it really is all about the games, man. And the other thing too is that we're forgetting is, PlayStation really thought about how do we not only bring new experiences to the table, but how do we immerse the consumer into those experiences? So they threw in 3D audio. Right, they threw in DualSense, which is amazing. I love the DualSense, no cap. And on top of that, we're getting PSVR 2 pretty soon, and we're still waiting for the promised VR for Xbox that was supposed to drop with the Xbox One X like 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it's just, man, Brad hit it on the, hit the nail on the coffin there, man. It's all about the games. It's all about the experiences. And at the end of the day, even if both consoles performed identical, ray tracing, frames, resolution, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So that's all I have to say. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, he brought up a good point as well. And I think the consensus is it's really all about the games. And when your games, is not displaying ray tracing, something that you touted that you have this high-end hardware based ray tracing, and you're going on the record saying, well, when it comes to ray tracing, the X Series X is equivalent to 25 T-flops and stuff like that. Like, stop saying goofy shit, and people won't hold you accountable for any of that stuff. That's just crazy. Crazy. Let me get my brother Jez in here, man. Matter of fact, King David, I saw you first, brother. Come on in here. Tell me what you think, man, and then Jez, I got you. Got you next. King David, man, you got the floor. Tell us what's on your mind, man.
Jaydub.
Hey, what's up, my brother?
Bro, I'm just out here laughing my ass off, man. It's just so funny to see a whole year worth of work blowing up in your face. Just crazy, man. Remember last year? All what they were doing, where they said the Xbox would not need, 30 FPS is finished on Xbox. Remember that?
I remember that.
It's going to be 4K 60 with ray tracing, 25 T-flops. Yep. All those bells and whistles and whatever. Man, listen, it's simple. It's just simple. And I'm not going to say it for long. They just want what happened last generation. They're still butthurt from last generation. They just want what happened from last generation to happen to them this gen. To happen to us this gen.
Absolutely.
How butthurt they are.
Absolutely. That's why they're talking about the PS5 is going to overheat because of new revision and stuff. That's the talk of the town for the Xbox community now, right? It's about the PlayStation 5 overheating. They said that in the beginning of this generation, they talked about the system going to overheat and doing all kind of stuff. And it's like, look, none of that stuff has come to fruition. But what has come to fruition is that PlayStation 5 is still continuing to dominate. It has better ray tracing. It has better frames. It has better pretty much everything. And it's 3 T-flops less. So until they shake that, man, they're always going to be in a bad place. What's up, brother?
Last year, I remember all the times, dog. I remember all the times I went to those Xbox channels. I went into the chats. I was like, yo, wait for the results to come out first. But they were going in. Yo, I remember going on RDX, that KKK podcast, the All Powerful White Man podcast. I remember going there. Bro, the amount of lies, though. Like, if you got to lie to make your brand look good, it means there's a problem.
Absolutely.
It means there's a problem because this is bad.
Well, one thing that doesn't lie, brother, one thing that don't lie, these games don't lie. When you look at these games and you play these games and you see how critically acclaimed they are, what type of awards they're winning, how people feel about them, what's the talk of the town, if it's trending, yada, 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 and go on. At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
It's all about the games. It's all about the games. And Another thing I want to point out, look at the way Phil Spencer is talking. Every time he does an interview, he talks about xCloud, Game
Yeah.
Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. When is this man going to talk about games? That's what we
Well,
care about. We don't care about seeing your face on YouTube, bug dancing. That's not what we want.
yeah, that's what the last dude said. You know, when someone brings up something about anything, right? And if your answer to that question is Game Pass, that's an automatic
Yeah,
L.
it's bad.
That's an automatic L. Game Pass is not the reason that you have no ray tracing games, right, in your first party lineup. That's not the reason for various other excuses. Game Pass is a service, right? And it's a great service, right? It's cheap, it's accessible, but at the end of the day, that's not your answer to every single question. We were made some stringent promises by Microsoft, right? Over and over and over again. And gamers are just saying, hey, when is this shit gonna come to fruition? I'm tired of seeing these head-to-heads where the X Series X is the underdog. I'm tired of seeing these comparisons of exclusives, and you got Spider-Man Miles
Jada,
Morales and all the
their
stuff
eyes,
for ray
listen,
tracing.
their eyes should have opened when you start seeing developers coming out and saying that the PS5 was a masterpiece of system design, was saying that it was well made or whatever. You had developers coming out, like, was it a month after that Mark Sony deep dive?
I think so.
Yeah, and you had developers coming out saying that it's not what people think. Like people think that that power gap is going to be an issue, but no, it isn't. It's not about T-flops. T-flops is just a number.
Yeah, that's what Mark
For
Sony said.
example, everybody wants to point out T-flops, but nobody wants to point out the fact that the Series X has a split up RAM, and they don't know that that can become a bottleneck.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bruh, I'm telling you, man. I'm just out here laughing. I'm just out here laughing because I knew all of this was coming. I remember,
Yeah.
and you know, I love my Xbox dudes, though. Though I'm blocked by half of them, more than half of them, I still love
Mm,
y'all. You understand? I still love y'all.
facts. Facts.
But y'all some sick Negroes. Y'all
Sick
some serious sick Negroes, dog.
This is some sick Negroes.
This
Oh
is
man.
some sick Negroes. Y'all were the same people saying the PS5 was RDNA 0, was
That's right.
what 80 flops, this one kudu core. Bruh, yo, this is the biggest sale in history, dog. Yo, but I gotta go. See
All
y'all
right,
later.
man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Oh man. That's hilarious. Hey, I got my good buddy Jez here, man. I want to get Jez in here. You know he's gonna come here from the grinders and go ahead and Jez, tell us what your thoughts is, brother. What's going on? Yeah, doing good, doing good. Happy
Yo,
Sunday, brother.
shout out to you, man. Kid Smooth and Zaire, man. That show that you guys did, I think it was yesterday. I was watching it
Yeah,
last night.
this is
Dude, that was
hilarious,
hilarious. Yo,
huh?
man.
Definitely,
Dude,
man.
yeah, that was hilarious stuff, man. So, yeah, I hear everybody talking about it's all about the games. It's all about the games. You want to know what? There is the one place, the Xbox has thought of everything. There is the only place that I could play my games while taking a dump, then wash myself and smell like executive Phil Spencer with his body wash, then come downstairs, eat some donuts, and then have an Xbox refrigerator to put my Xbox donuts in so they don't go stale while I stare at my wall of multiple controllers. It's amazing what they have thought of. They have thought of everything but the fucking games because they just take the games away. They take all the features away of these games and they're going to ship us this bogus ass product in this wonderful subscription they could get in a box of Cracker Jacks. So anyway, they thought of everything but the games, but seriousness about the stuff. The one thing that I'm surprised, and Digital Foundry, I know they got their box of donuts dropped off with them a couple of times. The one thing about them is that I look at trends, right? And we've been seeing this trend for a while, okay? And this is basically going back to the 1X. The thing is that these games, for some reason, they increase the resolution of them,
and they get the One X, same thing. They increase the resolution, but then the PlayStation is the one that's more performant. It has a more stable frame rates. It doesn't have these head scratcher frame pacing and frame rate drops, and the performance, even though it's a little bit lower resolution than the Xbox, it's a better performing game, and sometimes even has better anti-aliasing. It has better implementation of ray tracing. In this example, This happened, dude. The whole generation of the Xbox One X. After they hyped it up, it was the monster. It was a monster. Wait, this wasn't the monster that eats monsters. No, that one was. It's a monster. The other one is a monster that eats monsters and takes out bitches for brunch. That's the series X. It's basically a remastered One X. We're seeing the same situation, and I heard a lot of people saying they knew this was coming because we've been through it since 2017. The One X didn't demonstrate its capabilities over the PlayStation. It was so strange how they jacked up the resolution at the cost of performance and just weird-ass things. And in this example, the resolution is a little bit higher with little nightmares, but again, we're seeing the same thing where there's these weird hitches, and then obviously the ray tracing implementation, there's something going on there. Xbox has some weird thing going on. I don't know if it's the DirectX. I blame it all on Windows pretty much, because Windows is a bogus-ass, bitch-ass, heavy performance system that probably is not really optimized as effectively as the PlayStation, because that thing was built to play games. Xbox is built with Windows in the background, which I think hurts a lot of it, dude. But don't you remember these trends, dude? Like, we've seen that.
I remember, yeah. Been there, done that. This is repeat, right? This is a repeat of where we are. We went through this for the last 7 years, right?
Yeah.
Initially, the PlayStation 4 came out, had the better version of the multi-pass. It was slightly more powerful. And then they dropped the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, and the PS4 Pro was deficient for about 2 T-flops or whatever, and that still stood neck and neck with the Xbox One X, right? And then here we go, another generation with 2 more consoles, right? So, and hey, here it is again, right? With all the promises, still not up to where they need to be, and that's unfortunate, man. That's really unfortunate. I don't know, like, I don't know what else to say or what else to do, but I think Microsoft needs to stop over-promising this hardware and this tech, because at the end of the day, when you look at a console like Nintendo that don't talk about specs at all, they talk about the game, they're successful. And when you look at PlayStation, they, a lot of times they talk about the features. It's not really the specs. It's the features that they talk about, as well as their games, right? When you're the leader, when you're number one, you get to do whatever you want. You get to say or act however you want. But Microsoft is last place. Xbox is last place in gaming, and some guys want to make it seem like it's a neck and neck, or the PlayStation is winning because of Game Pass and because of everything else. But then when you look at the Digital Foundry coming out with some of these games, and we have yet to see a game that really just showcased ray tracing.
On the Xbox. On the Xbox.
Yeah. But we have a whole slew of ray trace games on the PlayStation 5 where people, is winning awards, and you play Ratchet and Clank or
oh my God,
Morales, all of these games, or even a game without ray tracing. Look at Demon Souls, right? A game like that, you'll be hard pressed to find anything on Xbox that even holds a candle to it.
And it's first party, dude. It's first party. And that was the only problem. You're not gonna depend on Activision or EA to show the capabilities of a machine. It comes down to first party, and that's why when you look at Halo and the pop-ins and stuff, and you're like, it looks okay. It's like, dude, this is like their first party. It's 6 years in development. Like, this needs to be the creme de la creme, and then we go from there. Like, you don't, and they'd even do updates to, like, even Gears, like with ray tracing. They didn't like enhance their games to that extent. I don't believe they added ray tracing to Gears 5. So they need to lead this charge of the power of their system. And I wasn't a huge, this whole ray tracing thing, remember, it was hardware-based ray tracing versus software-based, remember? Yeah. It was built into the chip, with the Halo chip on side of the Xbox. This is all the bullshit, and this is why we talk about it today, and people saying they're laughing, and this is just hilarious, because we knew the project name of this friggin' system before it even was existing. Like, we knew Project Scarlet Family and this, and talked about it for 2 goddamn years about the capabilities of this machine. Digital Foundry took it apart with magnets. They were loving it. The guy with the beard was smiling or giving him the look like who farted face that he gives. Dude, they were just like, they loved the power, and we heard this so long, and then PlayStation was afraid because of the 12 teraflops. They ran out of PAX East because they didn't want to show up because the 12 teraflops were revealed. This is all the shit we heard last year, that they were afraid. Sony were caught off guard by did it.
Absolutely.
And you're here and you look in this, and nonetheless, half of the first thing was half of this stuff is going to be minuscule. It is going to be the difference between these two consoles is going to be so minuscule. So the power celebration is not going to give it a disadvantage. You're not going to relive the 1080p, 900p. That's what people want to do.
Yeah.
They want this to flip back the other way, and it's not going to happen. They want the other one of how to share games. They want that moment for Xbox. They're looking for it, and the problem is you're looking at the wrong things. Look at what they're giving you and the services and the games and what they've done to Halo, and look at that stuff, because you're not going to get those moments until Microsoft sorts out their games. Exactly. You're not going to get those moments of like, we got Sony back. This is how you share games. We got them. Woohoo! Like, it's not happening.
But but Microsoft spent $7.5 billion. Should that win?
Dude, I could go. You could go just by spending money doesn't make you. Ask Ninja, ask Mixer.
Oh man,
dude,
that's a low blow.
It's the truth. It's not a low blow. It's fact. It's what happened. It's history. It's in the documented gaming history books. What do they do?
So let me ask you this question, right? And it's an honest question. With regards to the ray tracing and some of the performance and stuff like that, do you think they'll ever figure it out, and eventually they'll start knocking this stuff out the park where they have the better, it's solidified where their console is equal to their spec sheet?
You know what? The thing is that given their vision, if this was the Xbox of old, and we had Donnie D and Peter Moore and stuff, and that hunger there to give that, I think I would be more confident saying yes to that. But given the whole accessibility, 2 billion gamers playing this on your phone while you're taking a dump or on a kayak, when you're looking at that, you're looking at more of like, I just think like, why? I just don't know if they're going to put that in there. Also, too, you got to think about it. Like, they have to really specifically designed for that hardware, and you see the problem that that 343 has is that they're trying to develop for all these PC configurations from all these different variations of PC, different console things, because they got to put this on everything and even optimize it for xCloud. So whatever the blades are, so they're updating the blades, I guess, to 1X.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of this kind of, let's get it out to as many people as possible and not hone in on what the capabilities of this one console can be and focus on that development where we can max out this quality, then put it on PC, then make sure it optimized for the cloud. It's all happening day one. And you're seeing that some of these developers are having a struggle trying to, they're spread too thin, basically. So if they were focused on the console, I think if this was the 360 and it had this power, definitely. But they're not focused just on the console. The console is just a means to play your games on the TV. It's not, and they're kind of brute forcing it, and that's why you see some performance hitches and stuff. And I think because it's especially their first party, because it's going to come down to their first party. Like that's what it's going to come down to, and. Maybe, Forza, I think, is always the go-to, because I think that engine is just well optimized for the console. So I think, Forza might do it, as the example, but I just don't know. Like, I think eventually it probably would happen, but I think by that time there's going to be another Xbox, the Xbox X2.
Yeah.
They're
say that too. I say that too. I said that because of this that was going on, I think we're going to see a revision of the Xbox,
Yeah.
and it's going to have even more T-flops, and it's going to even eat more monsters for breakfast. And I just don't understand why, because at this point, the fan base have pretty much already chosen. Listen,
who's waiting? That's my thing is they're on borrowed time right now from the hardcore, like more and more. And I think Halo is going to be another turning point when people see what they have done to Halo. People are going to be like, "This is not my Halo. What is going on?" Because it's basically an example of what this service and stuff could do to games, and not having XP at launch and having these daily challenges and trying to get you to buy this. Like, this is all just like sucker shit that you don't want to see in your premium games that you've come to expect after the 5 and 6 versions of these games. Maybe with a new IP you could get away with it, like a Sea of Thieves. But you can't do this to a game that's been the 7th iteration and just like saying, well, it's not at launch. It's like, this is what the service does, and it just keeps losing more and more mind share because you see how upset people are. And now the power thing, it's not the best place to play your third parties, because that's what everybody thought it was going to be, the best place to play all your third party games, and they can't even declare that right now. So. I just don't know, man. I always wish that they just focused on the console first and then eventually went out there like how Sony's doing, where they optimize this game for the console. They keep their devs focused on fixed hardware, unclosed environment. You maximize the potential of it. Then you get a Nexus or whatever like that 2 years later, put it on PC, and those guys are happy because it's a different audience. They have different needs than the console guys.
Exactly.
The Xbox thinks that they're all the same people. Guy that plays Panda Pop on his phone and the one who plays, League of Legends on PC is the same dude that wants to play Halo across all 3 devices. I don't think so.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for coming by, man. Blessing us
with
that knowledge you got, brother. We appreciate it.
No problem, man. Anytime. Happy Sunday, man. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later, brother.
Yeah, man. Bye.
All right. Let me get Honest to Critic. Come on in here, man. Honest to Critic, you got the floor. Thank you for stopping by this Sunday. If you're over here in the States, you can unmute your mic.
There we go. Am I coming through?
Yep, loud and clear, brother.
Oh, okay. Hopefully I sound all right. I'm using my phone, so.
Perfect. You're perfect.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jez. It's been a while since we talked, but me and Jez, we played a few games before. We hanged out before. But this is about the Xbox ray tracing, basically, or the lack of it, right?
Yep.
So my issue with them is, my issue with the whole idea is that you got PlayStation on one side. They're coming through right out the gate. They're using ray tracing. They're showing off what they can do with their systems. They're finding all kinds of unique ways of getting more power. You got devs like Insomniac working on ways of making ray tracing less demanding, so they can incorporate it with 60 frames.
Absolutely.
You got them working on 40 frame solutions to improve the response, the input lag of games, while still giving the option of ray tracing and finding a middle ground between 60 and 30 to where it feels better, it looks smoother. Even if they can't hit that 60, they can still try to do things that can open up the road for more ray tracing in the future.
Absolutely.
Like you got all this effort being shown from basically on the PlayStation side right away in the first few games that they're like, this is only the first year, and you're already seeing so much being done by devs on one side of the gate. Yet on the other side of the gate, do you even have any ray tracing in? Do they even have the new ray tracing in the new Forza? Like, is it? I heard that
only in the photo mode, the garage mode.
Okay, so that's a no.
That's a no.
So when because I heard this before, and I was just like, is there really no ray tracing at all? Because I'm just like, the one game you would
love just the tech behind Xbox, because they're supposed to be the more powerful system. On paper, they're supposed to be destroying everything from DF reviews, whether versus the PS5, to having these games just blow away anything, especially Forza, which we all know racing games aren't as demanding as other types of games. You know, like it's no surprise that we don't see ray tracing in a game like Forbidden West, you know, Horizon, because we know that there's a lot going on in the fact that it's an open world. But now we're talking about a racing game, and you can't pull off doing both. Like they can't find a middle ground. Yet you have like devs doing all kinds of little tricks on PlayStation side to get shit, you know, get higher resolution. They're even doing tricks to just up the resolution of the reflections you get from ray tracing. So, do you still hear me, right?
Yeah. I agree 1,000%. You preaching. It's lopsided. It is lopsided, and it shouldn't be lopsided. I've said it before. Mark Cerny over Jason Ronald, based on the results that we're getting today, and that's just it is what it is.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, man, a lot of people said a lot of stuff today. Good information, good takes and stuff like that. Again, where is the ray tracing? When are we going to get that game that really shows off the power of the X Series X? I know when I have family and friends come over and be like, "Oh man, you got the PS5?" I'm like, "Yeah, we got the PS5." Well, let me see it. You know, pop in Spider-Man Miles Morales, pop in the Demon Souls, the Ratchet and Clanks, the Returnals, and so on, and show them, and it's like, wow, that's next generation. I show them the Astrobot with the haptic feedback, the 3D audio and the Returnal and stuff like that. It's a difference. It's a difference. And y'all turn on the ray tracing and they're seeing all these reflections and all kind of stuff that they never seen before. That's showcasing your hardware at home. But my X Series X, if you come over my house and tell me to pop in a game that showcases this console, and you know what I'm gonna do? Pop in Psychonauts 2. I'm gonna pop in the Medium. You know, I can pop in Gears Hot Lesson, which is a great looking game, right? Taking nothing from it. But what else have you? Where's the ray tracing? It can't be Little Nightmares, or Little Nightmares 2, according to Digital Foundry, because the ray tracing doesn't exist. That's a problem. Microsoft has to change that narrative. They're already last place. They're already the Xbox is already a meme at this point. Halo has become a chopped up free-to-play blunder at this point, with features behind it. Basically, the campaign is a DLC. A lot of basic stuff is just a mess, man. No XP and all kind of other stuff. I mean, co-op, like, come on, what are we doing? I don't know, man. Again, I don't think Phil is the guy. Y'all may love him. Y'all may like him. Listen, he's a nice guy. You know, I think he's a nice guy, a likable person. But when it comes to me as a gamer and him showcasing my console and offering games that showcase, it has yet to come. It has yet to arrive. Let me get Winter Man in here. Let me see what he got to say. You know, Mike, let him bless us on this Sunday. Winter Man, come on in here. Unmute your mic.
How's it going, man? What's going on?
How you going? Loud and clear. We can hear you.
I'm just listening to all this goodness. You know, I don't want to be devil advocate, but like it's been said before. I won't be the first person to say this. Maybe it's not like the Series X. It's more so the Series S. We all knew we were gonna have issues with the scaling. But I think the Series S is what stops it from being scaled. Like the current generation. If the Series S is supposed to be a current gen console, I feel like they have to scale it an additional time, so they can never have a full next generation version on the Xbox, because they consider the Series S next gen. You know, I don't want to be like the devil's advocate, because I like my Sony games, but that could just be like the simple issue, just the fact that they have to make it play on that, you know, Xbox One Pro, pretty much. Or if I want to get real devilish, you could say, hey, this was their strategy, so that they don't have to deliver on these extra features and these things that's going to cost money and time. They want to give us these minor versions, all these like diminished type games, so that it furthers their plan to go into more mobile devices and cloud gaming. So it could be a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to call, man. I'm just listening to all your goodness, man. This is good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You take it easy.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, I support Xbox. I'm giving these guys more money than a little. I can't explain this. I can't explain why Xbox is the way it is, why they're doing this, why the lack of ray tracing, why Halo is in shambles, and why they made the decisions. Maybe this console should have been launched. Maybe it should have been delayed a year or two. It's I don't know. Let me get Easy in here and see what he say. Hey, Easy.
Hey, how's it going? Can y'all hear me?
Hear you loud and clear, brother.
All right. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I do think there's a couple of things here. By the way, full disclosure, I'm a straight Sony fan. I haven't owned an Xbox console since the 360, and since I started gaming, I've had PlayStation consoles throughout my gaming time here or whatever. But I definitely think that the personalities online on both sides. One side is shooting shots at the other, and then it goes the other way around. And then
absolutely,
I think just shit gets lost between all of that, and then we don't necessarily pay attention to what's happening, and we should, because it's taking the industry in a certain direction. So here's what I do want to say. I definitely think that Microsoft is making certain moves to be more as more of a service. Obviously their games are aiming to shoot for less quality, more just more that fits the service kind of model. They don't necessarily want to go the Sony way, which is spending all this money on these big AAA titles or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I do think we should critique that, because I don't think it's going to work. I mean, I think they're struggling. There's a reason why they don't talk about, how much money they're making on Game Pass. They continue to avoid the question. I don't think it's profitable at all. And if it ever becomes profitable, how much money are they going to be in the hole before it actually becomes a compelling service that it's going to allow them to invest, kind of like Netflix. Netflix has really good content now, and most people go to Netflix to watch their stuff nowadays, right? Because they have, really good content. But how much money they had to invest to get to that point, and it's different because obviously, Netflix is you're watching the content, you're not streaming games. So that's why I think Microsoft has a big hurdle to overcome, because the latency issues and the internet issues where you have to get everybody on there. It's not the same experience as playing native. So that's one thing. The other thing that I feel like the Sony side is really taking shots at Microsoft. And again, I'm playing total devil's advocate. A lot of the Sony people are not going to like that I'm saying this. It's the attacks on Halo. I think Microsoft is making every right move with Halo. I just think that most people don't understand what Microsoft is doing. And it ties into the approach, the service approach. Microsoft is going the Fortnite approach. Microsoft wants to be a service. They want to use their biggest IP to make billions of dollars, kind of like Epic did with Fortnite. I think what they're doing with Halo. And if you want to, by the way, JW, you want to kind of jump in here and tell me what you think about it. That's
you're preaching. I agree with everything you
said. Know what I mean? But I think they're doing every right move with Halo. I think this is going to be the biggest Halo that we've ever had in a while. And the last Halo that I played was the Halo 2 on the 360. So, and I was a big fan of Halo, and I think they've made every right move. I think going on PC is great. I think it's gonna be one of the most successful Halo that Microsoft has ever been involved in, as far as like money wise. They're gonna make a bunch of money on it, and that all that revenue may allow them to put that back into the ecosystem and better content, hopefully. But I think they're doing the right thing. I just think that most people are kind of stuck on the old campaign, kind of the more traditional. Hey, where's the campaign? How come they're not advertising this as a $70, $60 title where you do the 6 month to 12 month out marketing campaign? They don't have to do that. They don't care about that because it's in Game Pass, right? Number one, and number two, their focus is on the multiplayer.
Yeah.
The focus is on the service and generating all this revenue on DLC or the microtransactions and all that stuff. And I honestly think that's a good move for them because I think that Halo is a much bigger IP than any of these other successful, like free-to-play games. Like what's the one that Respawn has that's doing very well?
Yeah, Apex Legends.
Yeah, Apex Legends did great. Obviously, Fortnite is the biggest one. You know, what's the other one? PUBG. Yeah. I think Halo has like the fucking, you know, the brand, and you have the community, which everything that I've read, if you move outside, and it goes both ways, but I'm going to close with this. If you move outside of like the ecosystem, I'm sorry, your bubble with the Sony people and then the Microsoft, the Xbox or whatever, you're going to see things happening on both sides. And that's what I think everyone from the community should do, because at the end of the day, there's all gaming. You know, we want the industry to move in the right direction or whatever. But the Sony people, if they move out of their bubble and they go into the Halo community, most of these people are very excited about what's happening with Halo. They love the multiplayer. It's not a AAA. They're not putting a lot of like effort into the graphics or any of that shit because it's all about the multiplayer, and I think that makes sense. And on the Xbox side, you know, they attack Sony for all this garbage. Like now the new narrative is the whole thing with the revision console, which again is just stupid. But they're targeting different markets. Sony wants to do the big AAA, more traditional, you know, $70 title experience with the with the graphics and the set pieces and all that shit. And I think it's just different targets for different consumers. And if you're a gamer like Jaydub who can afford to kind of dabble on everything, then fuck it, do it. Just get the 360. I'm sorry, the Series X. Get the PC. Get the you know, the PS5. But yeah, I'll close with that. I think that, you know, Microsoft definitely needs to do better when it comes to like your more traditional AAA experiences. I don't think they will, and I think they will at some point. Obviously, they have games that they're working on. Some of their studios are working on big titles, which I don't think they're going to be what people are expecting them to be. I think they're going to be more geared towards a service. Like Fable is going to be a service game. I bet a year's salary on that. But I think that if Halo is what they think it's going to be, and it makes them Fortnite money, I think that Microsoft will try to, you know, go back and do the more like traditional.
Well, it can only happen in two ways, right? And thank you for coming rocking out with me, man. Thank you for blessing us with your wisdom.
Appreciate
I'm going to tell you this. This can only go two ways when it comes to Halo. Either this will go down in history as the best decision that could ever be made, and 343 comes out like kings, Phil comes out like a king, or this can go down in flames and just burn, and Halo just dies a deadly death, a fiery death. We don't, like he said, we are looking at it from traditional eyes. And a lot of us gamers, shout out to Code, we got Code in here, but a lot of us gamers are so into the traditional route of doing things, and Microsoft is not into that anymore, and we're just going to have to accept that. It's taking some time for me to accept it, but we have no choice. Whether you like it or not, we have to accept the new Microsoft, the new regime, the new direction of what they're doing, whether we like it or not. Code, what's up, my brother?
What up, my Pegasus brother? What's going on up in this? Hey, what's the language? What's the language required?
Man. Yeah, we have ascended from ponies to Pegasus. Therefore, we shall approach and greet each other as such. What's up, my brother? Happy Sunday.
What's up, my Pegasus brother? Likewise, man. Since it's the Lord's Day, I think I might keep my language intact today. How you doing, brother? Shoot, what's going on with you?
Can't complain, man. Said I'm gonna try to figure out how to take this Twitter Spaces and stream it to YouTube, so I can, because a lot of people when I do the Twitter Spaces say, "Hey, man, I missed it. Can I, can you record it?" And so now I'm just streaming both, so we make sure we can have some archives and stuff like that. But go ahead and you see the title. You've been here for a while. You've been listening to what we've been talking about, man. And I know it's expanded from the whole Xbox lack of ray tracing, in a game or two, or just lack of thereof on the console. And now the kind of topic has moved on to other things.
Yeah,
But on that basic topic of what I titled it, right, the lack of X Series X ray tracing via Digital Foundry, and with this comparison with Little Nightmares 2, ray tracing on the PS5 looking good and crisp and dispersed versus SSR, on the X Series X. I'm just asking the questions. That's all.
Well, I'm gonna try to give you a couple of answers, my Pegasus brother.
Go ahead, brother, as you see.
So first, we gotta clear this up, right? Like they gonna get a little bit of love, because just a little bit though. Then we gonna come with the smoke, but they gotta get a little bit of love first. So first, so as the Pegasus Nation, we gotta stop saying the Xbox doesn't have ray tracing, because that's not true. Remember, Reflections is but one implementation of ray tracing. Ray tracing can be used for many things. Ray tracing can be used for AI. Ray tracing can be used for sound. Ray tracing can be used for shadows and reflections. Now, of course, from our point of view,
shout out to the audio ray tracing Xbox out there.
I mean, that's still legit ray tracing, right? Like that is legit. That is a legit form of ray tracing, and it helps. Like it really does. Like ray traced audio is a big deal. Returnal has ray traced audio. So here's the thing, though. From a gamer's perspective, the most visually impactful thing that we can see from ray tracing are the reflections, right? So as the average consumer, when we say ray tracing, we're going to immediately look for reflections and the quality of reflections in Ratchet and Clank, where it's just picking up stuff from all across the world, and you're like, dang, this is amazing. So that's what gamers want to see, right? So it's not true that Xbox doesn't have ray tracing. They just ain't done nothing with it the way PlayStation has done with it, right?
Facts.
So here's the thing, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, my standard disclaimer. I know you don't think Phil is the guy, but I think that I really believe that Xbox leadership, they're doing the right things. I really do. It's my Xbox should focus on power. Why? Because in 2013, they got dog mopped when it came to power. And that man stood on the stage. He said, three things I will not be beat on again. I will not be beat on power. I will not be out of position. Well, he didn't say beat. He said out of position. I will not be out of position on power ever again. I will not be out of position on price ever again, because you remember they were the weaker console and they cost $100 more.
Absolutely.
So he learned those two. He will not be out of position on power. He will not be out of position on price. And then the third thing was like the games and stuff, right? So they buying studios and they doing all of this stuff. Ain't nothing came from it yet, but from my belief is Xbox, the leadership should be focusing on that stuff. I got no problem with them and what they trying to do. The problem is with these bots and these influencers and these social media personalities that take everything Microsoft says and then they exaggerate it and distort it to such epic proportions that nothing could ever live up to the stuff that these clowns say. They are the problem. And that's where I focus my energy. All right.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah. So from that,
let me say this one thing, right? Not to rebuttal you anything.
No, speak freely, my Pegasus brother. You know, we don't got no hive mind over here. We speak freely over here.
Big facts. You're 100% on what you said, except in one point, and I'm a different from you with that.
Okay.
You're right. Phil said all of that, and he's done all of that. Here's the problem.
He's trying to do it, but
he's trying, right? As a leader, sometimes you look back in time, you say, hey, 2013, this is what happened. We're going to make sure this stuff doesn't happen again. And so you implement and you do try your hardest to fight and try to recover from that. The problem is that that's 2013. Sony didn't stand still. Nintendo didn't stand still. There's a new fight going on. So I feel like he's still fighting the 2013 war when those days ended with the Xbox One X. When the Xbox One X came out as the world's most powerful console, running PUBG at 11 frames a second, that was the end of we care about power, power, power. And the reason why, right, is because the weaker console, the 1.86 T-flop OG eraser-shaped PS4 had Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and countless other games that outshine that six T-flop system. So that should have deaded the whole power thing there. He should have came to the conclusion saying, okay, look, I thought it was power, but clearly it's not power because this 1.86 T-flop is shitting on my 6 T-flop system. So I got to focus on what really, I got to change my narrative to something else, right? Which is the development studio and the talent, right? I got to correct the talent. And shout out to him for spending $7.5 billion and getting that talent. Shout out to him for buying these studios. That's everything else. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The reason I say he's not the guy, right? Again, he's a great guy, but we have to be honest. The fight that we see and play out on Twitter and YouTube is a different fight than what Microsoft is fighting.
Absolutely.
Right? The bots, the X-bots, right? They're fighting, right? They're fighting the fight of 2013. They really want these Sony one and done games. They want these GOTYs. They want these third-person, over-the-shoulder cinematic experience games. They're just not willing to admit that they want it because that would be giving credence and credit to PlayStation for doing that stuff. And
they'll admit it when they get one, but yeah, for now.
Absolutely. Listen, when I remember, right, when the Medium came out, think about it. Cinematic, story-driven, over-the-shoulder third, right? Oh my God, this is great. It's split screen. It does this, right? And then all of a sudden, when Microsoft comes out with their new games that's coming out, the Fables and all this stuff, oh, guess what? These are those Sony style type games, and all of a sudden it's fashionable to have them again. But you prior to getting them, you claim, oh, nobody wants those one and dones. Those are one and dones. Once you buy the game and after you play it, it's over, you know. But now Phil is providing that or trying to go there. Now you're loving it. It's just like exclusive, right? Exclusive was anti-consumer when they didn't have them. Absolutely. But now they're finna get them, and they got the studios and the games. Yeah. Now they're touting. Now can you see, Code, how PlayStation guys, right, have been touting their exclusives, their GOTYs, their cinematic experience games, their awards for all of this time. And it shows you that those PlayStation fans, those Xbox fans, they really were jealous and they really wanted that. And they were damage controlling and seeing
one way you saying it like it's past, it's like they wanted it. They still want it.
They still want it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just now that they're getting, think about it. Ratchet and Clank. They damage control that game. Oh, it's not impressive. It's not this and that. And guess what? Now we got a multiplayer Psychonauts 2. They're calling it their game of the year. Oh, it's better than Ratchet and Clank. It's before it was nobody care about cartoony games. Right. The whole hypocrisy of it all is just it's what I wallow in. I just love it, man. You can see me on Twitter. You can see me on YouTube poking fun at it all. It's what I enjoy because I love taking what somebody said and what they've done, and when how it was bad when PlayStation did it, but when Xbox and Phil do it, it's glorious, right? I just love it. Right, and I had to get that out of there, brother. I had to get that out. Oh yeah,
I'm with you, and I got to push back a little bit because
absolutely,
I think we mostly saying the same thing. I think I'm just looking at it from a different perspective than you, but we are on the same page. Because keep in mind, you are right, it is the bots that is fighting the war from 2013. Again, they're the ones that's distorting the message. Phil isn't harping on power like that's all that matters. Phil has a multi-pronged attack of which power is one. But again, his minions, they're the one that's distorting the message, right? Absolutely. Phil has a multi-pronged attack. Like you said, you need the dev talent. He need all of that. He needs the time, the resources. From his point of view, he is acquiring that. He's given them the time. He's acquired more skilled developers, he thinks. He has given them creator tools to work with, and now he just needs the time. But these bots keep just exaggerating. And also keep in mind when Phil's talking, he's not only talking to, sometimes he's talking to investors. He got to let them know we got a capable machine that's for the market. But then he's also talking to these bots. He know these bots is fighting the war from 2013. So he got to let them know, like, we got the power stuff, right? So they distorting it. So I don't think we are disagreeing. Well, other than you don't think Phil is the man. I just think he needs more time for his plan to come together, and you already ready to get the man out of there. I think that's the only difference.
Listen, and the only reason I say that, right? Again, I want to reiterate. The only reason I say that Phil is not the man is because for what they really want, for what his fan base really want, right? Phil is
they're not
going
to get that.
They're not going to get that. They're not going to get those big blockbuster $200 million games that Sony is providing. Those days are over.
But they'll get like 2 or 3 of them, but they're not going to get them the way that they want them, right? They're going to get.
It's going to be a service
very
game
watered
attached
down.
to it. It's going to be Matt Booty said it great. He said, "Look, we're investing in these studios. Our goal is to release 4 to 5 games a year in Game Pass." And we bought these AA indie studios.
Right, he said AA games with AAA polish.
Absolutely, that's exactly. He didn't say AAA games with AAA polish. He specifically said indie and AA. So,
but he did say like 1 or 2 showpieces, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why it's gonna be watered down, and that's the thing. You said it earlier on this stream. The whole, you just said it when I came on. You like the whole traditional way of gaming, what you expect, you just have to.
Over.
Right. And then the thing is, these bots need to understand that too. So what they want is Sony killers. They're not going to get that. So if Sony dropped 10 bangers during the generation, well, according to PlayStation leadership, they got 25 bangers lined up for this generation. If Sony dropped 25 bangers this generation, Xbox, you might get 6 or 7. And they just going to have to be happy with that 6 or 7.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like you said, they are changing. And that's why I think I think we need to give him more time because he realized we have never won a generation, ever. We are not good at selling hardware. And then, they okay at it, right? Like they didn't fail like Philips CDI and 3DO, like they haven't gone under from it, but he realizes that that's not our strength, which is why he's trying to pivot to the things that you are complaining about: the service model, the games as a service, the Game Pass as a service. He is trying to change the whole story because the current story, the traditional gaming, it doesn't work out well for them. They in last place every single time. They make the least amount of money every single time. They don't make money on the hardware. Of course, he's going to try to pivot to something that's not traditional because at the end of the day, Sony and Nintendo are the undisputed kings of traditional gaming.
Facts.
So he's going to switch like that. It's right in front of everybody's eyes. He's not switching because he wants to. He's switching because he has to. But what you said is the key. These bots are stuck in the middle. And that's the funny part to me. The bots pretend that they with all of these changes, but what they really want is the stuff you said.
Absolutely.
They want 25 bangers too, one and dones, all of this, but they're not going to get them. So they are pretending that they're okay with the new direction while they just pounce to hype on anything they can get. Psychonauts, which I haven't played it yet. I'm sure it's a fine game. But the point is, they're going to continue to exaggerate stuff because they don't have those PlayStation quality bangers. And even if Microsoft do give them AAA, they're probably still the low. So it's this example that a professor of mine once used. If you look at a set of mountains, like you look at the Himalayas, and then they go up to the mountaintop, and then they have the peak down in the valley. They go all the way down. But then if you look at another set of mountains that's like in Utah's highest mountain is still lower than the Himalayas' lowest peak. So at the end of the day, on Xbox, their greatest banger will still be less than PlayStation's worst banger.
Absolutely.
So no matter what, these bots will never get what they want. So that's entertainment for us to laugh on Twitter at their misery, because what they need to do is just buy a PlayStation and understand where greatness is. And that's all it is to it. That's
Big facts, man. Thank you for coming by.
That's all I got for you,
sir. I appreciate
all right,
it.
bro.
You have a great Sunday, man.
You too, sir. Peace.
Take care. Well, guys, you heard it from the OG himself. It is what it is. I recommend you Xbox dudes. Listen, if you want the one and dones, the goatees, the championship belt, you're gonna have to go out and buy you a PlayStation, and that is what it is. Thank y'all for coming to rock out with me, man. It's always a pleasure. I'm gonna do this. Again. I'm simulcasting now from Twitter Spaces to YouTube. That way, it's archived in case people miss it. You can go back and watch it on my channel, Jaydub for you. Anyway, thank everybody that came and rocked out with me. Thank y'all for listening to me. It's always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you for all your support. Y'all know I game on